Now, if you're interested in buying land, you've got to realize there's no such thing as property rights anymore. The government regulates the land. You'll have far more restrictions than you would in living in an apartment building or something like that. Have to deal with a number of government agencies. Here I have to deal with the Forestry Service, Fish and Game, the County Planning Commission, the Fire District, the Irrigation District, the Water Quality Control Board. We have some local regulations. We have city regulations, county regulations, state regulations, federal regulations, and now we even have the United Nations has a bunch of regulations. All of this stuff costs a lot of money. I had a neighbor here that just recently built a home, and he spent over $50,000 on the extra regulations the government required. Water tanks, special septic tanks, environmental impact statements, oh, the list just goes on. And with all these agencies involved, it's just really destroying the real estate market now. But the good news is land is dirt cheap right now because it costs twice as much to build your own home as it is to buy an existing home. Recently had a home here that went into foreclosure. The guy spent I think over $500,000 on the property and building the house. It auctioned off for under $200,000, so it's a lot cheaper to find a home that's already built right now than building your own. But if you want to start a homestead, that takes one kind of land and certain amenities that it's going to need. And also, if you just want some bug out land, that's fine, but you've got to be careful in buying land. You might be stuck with it for the rest of your life, so you've got to get the right land up front. Real estate commission on selling land is about 15%. You've got to keep that in mind too if you ever want to resell it. And I'll talk a little about financing land, and I want to mainly go into resources you should be looking for to buy the land and the type land you want. You'll have to make a choice between just some bug out land to go just somewhere and hang out and camp, and in case SHTF, got some place to go that has some amenities there, some resources available to you there. Living in the city, urban survival is really an oxymoron. There's too many people, not enough resources in the city. That's why I wanted to get something in the country. Now, we had to put in our own road to get access to the property back here and pay for that. We had to put in our own telephone poles, the full length of the road we put in. We had to put in almost a quarter mile of irrigation pipe to connect to the irrigation district. So we had a number of other expenses that aren't obvious for this purchase of this land. We also had to petition the Planning Commission to allow us to build on our property. We were only allowed to build on half of our property. And we also petitioned to get the fence restrictions removed. We had to have special fencing, double fencing, and a special type of fencing because of the wildlife area and letting the animals get in and out of the wildlife area. Anyway, we won, and the Planning Commission and Fish and Game allowed us to get rid of all these restrictions on it. So be very careful about what you're getting into, and learn what all the restrictions on your property are. Now, when you're looking for resources, I have what I call the 4 W's. That's water, wood, wild edibles, and wildlife. Those are important resources to have available to you so that you can survive in a lot more comfortably. One of the main resources I wanted to have was a lot of land available to me. Initially looked at some isolated areas where I could buy about 60 acres. I found out there was very little in the way of game up there. Most of the game comes down closer to the agricultural areas where there's more food and water available to them. They were generally overgrown, had lousy roads going in, and the properties were just pretty dismal. What few people were in the area I wouldn't want for neighbors. They were like this guy. That is a 20-round magazine he has. It's legal here in California. Anyway, the neighbors were usually growing crops up there that they probably weren't supposed to be growing, and the land wasn't fenced in or anything, so I promptly abandoned that idea and went for a smaller acreage next to a wildlife area. Over the back fence here is the 5,000-acre wildlife area, and that has an abundance of resources available. I'll let him finish. Anyway, the wildlife area has wood, wild edible plants, water, and abundance of game, and it's public land, so I'm not going to get shot at trespassing and hunting on someone else's land. Critical resource to have in a local area. There's also a lake a mile from here with excellent fishing. So those are two other resources you might want to look for if you're buying land. My three sources of water are irrigation water, the well, and also a stream that's pretty much year-round here. It's summer now and it's not much water flow in it, but there is water. Now another advantage to having a stream is, like as you can see here, blackberries. We also have cattail shoot, watercress, a number of other wild plants will collect along the stream like this that can be harvested. They're seasonal, but you can harvest and even can these. Also, the water will attract animals. A lot of game will come down here to this spot here, and the game will use it as a watering hole. Right now the water is very low. It hasn't rained here in almost a month, and it's fed by a stream or a spring up in the hill. But during the winter months, there's a regular river here when the rainwater is added to it. So it is year-round. The quality is poor. This would have to be purified. But it's an alternate source of water. It could be good for irrigation too. Need to clean a lot of these invasive plants out of here. I could have a nice crop of blackberries. Blackberries that grow along the stream also attract quail, other birds, and some other animals. And also the river will have an abundance of frogs and a few crawdads. Fortunately, there's no fish in this stream, but if you can find property that has a stream with some fish in it, that would also be a plus. So a stream is a lot more valuable than just a water source. And most of the wild edible plants grow along this area where they have a supply of water available to them. I would not recommend buying land that didn't already have a well shaft on the property. If you're relying upon a stream for your water supply, you're going to have to transport that water to your shelter area. You're going to have to store it, and you're going to have to purify the water. And it just isn't going to be something that's going to be practical in the long run. A well with a hand pump is going to be by far the best source of water that you could possibly have. And I'd highly recommend getting land with a well shaft dug and put in a deep well or shallow well hand pump on it. If you really want to buy a piece of land and it doesn't have a well shaft already dug, you could check your local planning commission and local well drilling company. They'll have charts in your area of how deep they've drilled the wells in the area you're in. And if it looks like you got a possibility of having water down around the 25-foot level, you could put in your own hand pump well for about $250. And you can either do jet welling or hand digging to make your well shaft there. Quality of water won't be great. You'll probably have to do some filtering on it. But it would be an alternative to buying a property with a well shaft on it. Like I say, the Planning Commission and local well companies will have charts showing the water depths in your area. And as you find the lowest point in your property, you could dig maybe a 28-foot, 30-foot hole. And it's not too hard to do with hand or well jetting. And there's different ways of digging these, and there's plenty of YouTube videos on it. Now, if you buy property with a well on it, you'll want to get the spec sheet from the well company. The previous owner should supply you with that. It'll tell you the gallons per minute, possibly water quality. If he's had a water quality test done, you should probably have a water quality test done anyway. See if there's any chemicals or bacteria in the well. The report should show you the depth of the well, gallons per minute, depth to the water table, and if the owner doesn't have it, get the name of the guy that put the well in and get the data from them. Now, if you choose a property without a well already on it, there is another alternative, and that is to put in a water tank. Most of the areas up here in the foothills, they have a water delivery truck that will bring thousands of gallons of water to you on a regular basis to keep your tank filled. Also, one of the requirements for building here is to have a 3,000-gallon water tank for the fire prevention. The Forestry Service and the local fire district require you to spend the extra $3,500 on a 3,000-gallon water tank. It has the hookups for the fire hoses. That's so they can put the fire out. That's one thing I'm considering putting in to give me ability to have an extra supply of water for irrigation or for putting out a fire if one should break out here. And I think it's worthwhile considering, even if you have a well, to put one of those tanks in and give you another source of water to have available. This is my irrigation water hookup. If you don't have this installed on your property, it costs about $1,500 to hook this up. It's got a valve over here so that they can shut it on and off. It costs about $1,500 to hook it up, and then about $200 to $400 per acre inch of water that you're going to use for your crops. Anyway, the previous owner did a brick and mantle test in this area, and this is where the septic tank would have to go. It has to be far away from the well and your neighbor's well, as well as in an area that has the best permeability of soil. So it's possible the person selling you the property is already going to have the brick and mantle test and the well data available. Firewood is another important resource. There's plenty of seasoned oak just lying around on the ground here for firewood. You don't really have to chop any trees down. This tree died and I'm cutting it up slowly for firewood. I don't use too much firewood right now, but I want to keep as much handy on hand here as I can. The oak is excellent firewood and also provides acorns, which can be processed into a flour. Also attracts deer and squirrels. So oak trees are a big asset to the property. Wildlife area back here, of course, has plenty more wood available if I need it. I don't want to chop any trees down here, so I could go up there, get all the firewood I need. Now, another resource you're going to want to have is have a land that's fenced in. All my neighbors here raise cattle, and the property was already fenced in. I didn't have to pay for it, just a small section in front where I put a gate in front and a few yards of fence. And having to fence in 5 acres of land is a big expense and a big chore. You don't want to get into that. And it gives you a certain amount of security that hunters aren't going to wander onto your land or anything like that. And you can post it, so you can have the no trespassing signs on it. Not a big defense thing, but if nothing else, it keeps the cattle out. By the way, cattle are a very valuable resource, not only to be able to barter meat, but also for the manure for the compost heap. My neighbors around me all raise livestock. everything from chickens to buffalo. One of my most valuable resources has actually turned out to be my neighbors. They have both knowledge and the equipment needed to do just about anything, from arc welders to backhoes, tractors. They know how to raise crops, they know how to raise livestock and chickens, and we have a regular network here with my neighbors already. Everybody works together and helps people out. So having good neighbors is probably one of the most valuable assets I have here. And they're good people, good hard-working people. But having neighbors like this, you don't really need a McDonald's. And I say, not only is manure handy here, but these are very good eating. Now, I have a power pole on the property, and that is a big plus. I know somebody that bought some land, and he found out it was costing $40,000 for power poles to be put into his properties, and he basically was wound up probably not building at all there. Now, even with a power pole like this on the property, you're still going to have to pay about $6,000 for the electric company to hook you up for the meter and the other pole or running pipe underground and engineering the site. They charge you around $6,000 to hook it up to your house. When looking for property, always bring your cell phone with you. Check the property in various areas to see what kind of coverage you get. I use an app called Open Signal, which has been very helpful in measuring the field strength of the signals coming in. You'll find that in the long run, you'll really miss not having internet and cell phone, and there's a number of apps like Emergency Service Scanner that are very helpful to have also on your phone. This app shows you areas where you have cell phone coverage. I'm located in this little dot, so you can see that it's pretty hard to find areas out in remote country where you're going to get good cell phone signal. Having the internet and the cell phone is really been a big plus. In the long run, you'll really miss it. Open Signal will also give you the field strengths of the other services and networks in your area. So you maybe have to change cell phone coverage up in that area, but it'll tell you which strongest signals are coming in at, which is very helpful. So bring your cell phone with you whenever you're looking at properties. Try it in various places on the property to see if there's any coverage. You also want to have some open land available for crops, and maybe put a barn, a storage shed. Primarily, if you want any livestock or crops, you're going to need some area cleared. It costs a lot of money and a lot of effort to clear a section of property of trees and brush and prepare the soil. I have some areas open here. I've got over an acre here opened, so where I can put in the crops. Now this driveway was already here. Previous owner put that in. It's another big expense. And despite all the amenities the property had, it was the cheapest 5¼ acre parcel of land that I could find anywhere in the area. So it's worked out really nice for me. And all these amenities make it not so much you get more money for it, it makes it easier to sell. If you buy land without any of these amenities, you're going to be stuck with that for the rest of your life. I'm going to talk a little bit about the buying process. It's best to pay cash for your land. If you pay cash for your land, you'll be able to get a much better deal from the seller. Real estate commissions on selling land is about 15%. And land without a lot of amenities like the fences and well will be a very difficult sell. So you may be stuck with that land forever. but it's a good negotiating technique to offer to pay landowner cash. Banks generally won't lend on real estate that's up in just raw land. They'd like to have a house on it, but some of the banks will consider the price of the land you paid as part of the down payment on the property for a construction loan. So paying cash would be a big advantage. You also probably don't want to get stuck behind a loan on your property anyway, because that could go on forever if you don't select the right property that has a lot of resale potential. So don't just run out and buy any old land that looks good to you or it's reasonably priced. Some cheaper land is going to cost you a lot more in the long run to do anything with. If you want to build a homestead, that's really a completely different kind of property than maybe just a bug out land. Bug out land, you wouldn't need a lot of amenities, but it's good to have them there in case you do want to build someday on the property or for resale value. Now they have a restriction. You can only have a structure of 10 by 12 in order to put any structure on your property without getting a expensive building permit. I decided to go up and get more storage space by getting a shed with an attic in it. This thing is big enough to be converted into a small cabin, by the way. It might be a good way to go. You won't need a permit for it. And you could put a loft bedroom in it, and downstairs have a kitchen living room area. That might work out for some of you. If you got area where you can have a larger storage facility or storage shed built, so much the better. Now you may be able to do a lot more with your land if you have it categorized as agricultural land. For instance, I can't build a garage here until I get a permit for the house, but I can build a barn here, and the difference is just the way the garage door opens. Garage doors open up, barns open to the side. Building permit to build some kind of a home, even a manufactured home, is going to cost in the neighborhood of $20,000 and up. Your septic tank, the sand gravel type that I have to have here, is about $30,000. The well's in already, but it costs about $6,000 to put in a well pump and storage tank, pressure tank. So to summarize, put some contingencies in your sales agreement with the seller. Try to get perk and mantle data, water quality data, well data, all in there. Be sure there's some contingencies about what your restrictions are on there. Make it contingent on approval of the Planning Commission master plan. Try to be sure to get a land that already has a well shaft on it also, and try to pay cash for the land. The seller is going to be forced in most deals to take back financing, and if you can offer him cash and he knows he's going to get his money out of it and not have to take the land back in a couple years, he'll negotiate a lot better price for you. And it also will help out with your down payment on your construction loan. And if you can afford to buy land that has some amenities on it, you'll save money in the long run if you decide to build on it. It'll also make it a lot easier to sell if it does have these amenities on it. Anyway, guys, that's all I can think of off the top of my head about buying land, and thanks for watching.